Hello, everyone. It is Jen again, and I am here, as promised, with my experiences after the first day of Mastery of Success for Creative Consciousness. And yeah, it was a long day. If you've gotten familiar with some of the trainings and kind of what they're about, they start at 9 o'clock in the morning and go up until sometimes past 9 o'clock at night. So it's a lot of time, but believe it or not, it's pretty jam-packed. Like there's really no wasted time there. So it's pretty amazing. But anyway, so it was a full day. And what's come up for me today was the theme of resistance. And it's something that's been coming up again and again for me for quite some time now. Today, I found myself really kind of resisting the process because it makes me uncomfortable, you know? And it reminded me of exactly the way I felt after the first day of my Master One training back in August. I had just these feelings of like, yeah, I don't really get it yet. Like, why am I doing this? And just this like, discomfort. So I'm kind of reconnecting to that feeling after Master One, or the first day of Master One anyway. And having had the Master One experience, I see now, because once I got through the full Master One, I realized that like that first day and the first part of Master One is really all about building the context for the rest of it. And so, it gets better. And so I know that this is going to get better. And it's just a matter of like, pushing through this, like sitting with it, letting it be, and pushing through it and going on to the next day. And I have to laugh because, swear, like I said, I was having these feelings of discomfort after leaving tonight. But as I got into my car, my rented car to come back to here, the place where I'm staying, the song that was playing on the radio and the very first words I heard as I turned that key was, "When the going gets tough, the tough get going." So I was like, okay, all right, universe, I get it. I wasn't going to quit. So that was kind of funny. It's just one of those funny little synchronicities. Speaking of which, we actually did talk a little bit about synchronicity today and kind of how time, moves in a linear fashion. But then when you're connected and you're not resisting, we'll go back to the theme of resistance. When you're not resisting and when you're connected to that greater you, and your purpose, that things just fall into place. And so something that you thought should take like, oh man, it's going to take me a year to get here, or a year to do this, or a week, or whatever, suddenly just out of nowhere, the resources or the people that you needed to have in your life in order to make that happen just appear, right? And I think most people can kind of connect to that, at least in some ways, where it's just like all of a sudden you needed something and boom, there it was. But resistance is a big part of that. And you really have to drop resistance and drop attachment in order for those things to flow and happen more. So that was kind of funny. So a couple of themes connecting there. Another thing that really came up for me today is that we talked a lot about where we spend our time and energy, as within your career, but also, of course, in other areas of your life. And I realized that where I'm spending a lot of my time and energy is not generally on things that are really important, that are going to move me forward. So I spend a lot of time procrastinating, which generally speaking is, it's an energy of fear. I'm procrastinating. I'm not doing the things that are really important because, oh, well, I need to do this little thing or that little thing, And so, like I said, it's kind of like creating this block. And we talked about today, like when to stick to something and when to quit. And I realized that, and if anyone knows me from, years ago, generally, like, I am pretty tenacious. Like, if I start something, I'm going to see it through to the end. I'm not going to quit, because in my mind, I have this attachment of failure to quitting. So if you quit, you're a failure, right? But there's a saying, and maybe you've heard it. I don't know if it's original to creative consciousness, but when the horse is dead, it's time to get off, right? And so it made me think, like, okay, where in my life am I riding a dead horse? And where is it time for me to get off that dead horse in my life? So that's something I need to think about more. And also in relation to that, idea of how I'm spending my time and energy, is that we talked about this kind of idea that there's, urgent matters and things that need to be done, and then there's also the important stuff that needs to be done. And the urgent stuff is like, the everyday, like, oh, I've got to go to this appointment, or I've got to do that, I've got to clean the house, I've got to, the mundane stuff. And the important stuff is the stuff that really that moves you, inspires you, that's part of your purpose and your higher self. And that's, moves you forward more towards that purpose. And we sort of, as people were sharing, this question came up that, what would your life look like if you spent more of your time doing the important things and less time doing the urgent things? And as I thought about it, and as the group was sharing, I realized that, wow, I mean, if I really did the things that were important instead of running around like crazy doing all the silly little urgent things, I would have so much more energy. And I'd be so much more fun and playful. I used to be so much more of those things. I used to be so much more fun, so much more wild and playful. And I miss that. I miss that about myself. So those are the main things or themes that kind of came up for me today. So, it's something. There's some things that I just need to think about more. I need to sit with. Again, I just need to sit with this discomfort and think about these things. Let them kind of ruminate in my head. And yeah. So that's all for today. I will be back again tomorrow to share my experiences from day 3. And yeah, so you can kind of see how this all unfolds and see the evolution of the process, because it's a process, So yeah, so thank you for watching. That's all for today. And again, if you haven't gone to any of the websites, I would certainly encourage you to do that. I have a Facebook page. I have a Twitter page now. So certainly feel free to go to those. I'll put the links in the description. And yeah, so that's all for today. And thank you for watching. And I will see you again tomorrow.